Hi guys, welcome to another movie crew review. Today we'll be reviewing Materialists.
The movie starred Dakota Johnson, Chris Evans, and Pedro Pascal.
So this film follows a matchmaker in New York as she goes through the scene trying to help these lonely singles find their match. She finds her own love life impacted by a unicorn that she finds versing an old flame. So we're going to get into the review today, and Moon is going to take us away.
Alright, so the reason I really wanted me to watch and boys to watch the movie was because of Celine Song. So I really love Past Lives. And even though the trailers didn't interest me for this movie, but I really was adamant that we need to watch this. And you know what? I'm glad I watched this movie. This movie is, I don't want to draw any comparisons between Past Lives and this, but it does have like a love triangle thingy. So that's the only thing I can just relate to that movie. But this movie is about a matchmaker played by Lucy played by Dakota Johnson, and many people say she's not a good actor, but I think she did a great job here. She showed all the different sides to her character. Um, I was very annoyed by her character, but that's what like her character arc was. She's a materialist. She is looking for she's a matchmaker. She's looking for like better half for other people, and but in her head also that there are like a list of options for everyone, and that's how life flows. That all person has to be this much rich, this much tall, whatever. So I was like, why is she's like this? But as the story is progressing, because she met Pedro Pascal's character Harry, and he's like this lovely man. He's rich, he's tall, and he's everything she wanted. And but then she meets her ex-flame, and she's sort of confused. And then one of her like client is in a big problem, so everything sort of revolves around her, and that makes this like her character go from point A to point B, and I loved how that everything combined together because she was a materialistic, and at the end, even she was in her head doing her maths, but she has evolved so much because she looks like she needs to find actual love, and she finds it. Won't say how it happens, but I love this movie. I think the best part of this movie is these are just normal people, you know, these characters are, we can see any day, every day. And even I thought like Pedro Pascal might be a bad guy because he's, you know, all good, but he's not. He's just a lovely man. So just like normal people with normal problems. And that's why I love this movie. Cameron?
So when the movie began, I was just a bit on edge because I hate Dakota Johnson and the way she acts. And at the start, for the first 10 minutes, I kind of got why they got her for this character. I go, because she's very blunt and direct, and I thought, oh yeah, this is going to suit her very well. But as the movie goes on, I just wanted a bit more evolution in her character. The writing does that, but just her portrayal doesn't translate to me on the screen. I don't feel any emotion towards her. Like, I don't hate her. I don't like her. She's very blunt, and just the way she looks. And a lot of this movie is shot and she's staring directly down the lens, and it's just her, and there's no music behind her. So it's just what you see and what you hear out of her mouth. And it just, for me, I just want a bit more effort. It seems very non-effort towards just giving a line, or I get what Moon maybe is saying, like it suits the character. But for me, the evolution of the writing actually was pulling me through, but not her acting. But the Chris Evans characters and the Pedro Pascal character was phenomenally written. Every time they were on screen, I'm just like, well, they're really portraying like emotions and even sad, happy, this, that. I get she's probably not emotionless, but to be materialistic, you can still have a bit of emotion. Like, she's not a robot. And even with scenes where it goes really into a serious mode, like when one of her clients gets assaulted, like I'm just looking, because she's saying all these things like she wants to be hurt about what's happened, but to me, she doesn't translate to that on the screen for me. So that really lets the movie down for me. But all in all, the concept was really good. The story was good, but just Dakota, she just, for me, really brings this down for me. I thought if she could just portray emotions a bit more, I think it would really be a better movie. John?
Yeah, I think that on some points you are right with the emotions. It is a little bit of a wooden performance, being a bit stoic compared to Pedro and Chris Evans, but I did enjoy the film. I think it had its good qualities and its bad qualities. So my main takeaways from it were no one comes out of this as a bad guy, which is a nice way to write the film. I think it's a very easy trope to make the Pedro Pascal guy seem like a good guy and then turn out to be the dick of the film, and that's why she goes to the Chris Evans type and all that kind of stuff. But this is really more done on a deeper level, and I think that's what I enjoyed about it. I think the storyline, even though it was cliche, it does still give something a bit fresh, and I was interested in it. It could have gone a bunch of different ways, but it really does take the materialistic approach. And to be honest, the Pedro Pascal character for me seemed the most emotionally developed throughout the early parts of the film. But then watching her develop with Chris Evans, it was kind of more like they were discovering something that was already there and just a way to go forward. So I enjoyed the themes of the film. I think that it was, for me, it was an enjoyable film. I didn't really have too many issues with it, but it wasn't like a standout or anything that was overly new, fresh take. It was just something that was a bit different, a bit interesting, but that's the main takeaways. Fun fact, I guess, is that the Sophie character for me was probably the draw to follow out the film. It's a nice run through piece. She comes through the film, helps draw Dakota through the period of change, and that's kind of the catalyst that happens there. But the acting from that actress Zoe Winters is really well done. I thought that she conveyed great emotion and really did a good job. I think if maybe Dakota Johnson had a little bit more of that in her portrayal, it may have been a little bit more well done. But I still think it was a good film.
Yeah, so I think the first time, like when she gets to know that her client got assaulted, at that point, I think she was still, the materialist. She's still like going, oh, he was ticking all those boxes. But I do agree, like at the end bit, because when he said he's, like he's stalking her, the client, I did feel that emotion wasn't like she wasn't doing that great, but I still think she did a good job.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, if I'm not wrong, Celine Song, she was a matchmaker in
Yeah, for
real
6
life. Yeah,
months.
6 months. So I
Yeah.
think that adds up. Like she knows how this industry works. So it's a refreshing thing to know. Never knew.
Yeah, I think, well, that makes a lot of sense because the matchmaking, if on screen, it always comes like more of a comedy, a rom-com sort of genre.
Yeah.
But this one, it's so real and so grounded. Like Moon said, they're real people, and it makes it's like someone actually went out there and wrote it while they were doing the job, because it was just all these real rich people who really want something specific, and they just beat that point so well and so many times, but still you're just like, come on. But it's so well done. That part really was really stole the show for me in terms of how this movie was. But yeah, Dakota, my lord. It just every time, like even when she's in the hat and the lady's telling her that she's got assaulted and she's explaining the whole diabolical scene that this guy's put her through, she's just sort of standing there. You could see her eyes going red, but there's just nothing else happening there. And I'm just like, come on, this lady's pouring her heart out to you, telling you why she's so angry and what's happened, and you just sort of standing there, and I don't know. I just feel like she should be portraying something a bit deeper.
Even the words, like, she wasn't like empathetic with her. She just kept saying, oh, he checked a lot of boxes and you checked a lot of his boxes. It's like, I don't
That's
know if
what
it
I
wasn't as
no.
empathetic as I thought she
But
could have
I
been.
think that's actually what she believed. So that's her character.
Yeah,
So
but if someone's
yeah.
saying you like they've got to, you got to feel something. You like it just can't be like no, hold on. I get the point when she's in the office with the lady and the head of the
Yeah.
matchmaking's
Yes, yeah.
telling her that. I get the processing. She's probably like, well, he's checked all the boxes. This shouldn't have happened. It's the first time it's ever happened to her.
Yeah.
But then when she goes out of her way to find Sophie
Yeah.
and confront her, and it's all to come out and say like she feels bad and she wants to like make amends and maybe find her another match, right?
Yeah, but then she just froze because she didn't know what to say.
See, for me, it felt like it was more like trying to apologize to make herself feel better than it was to make Sophie feel better.
You
At
can
least
look
the
at it
first
that way
time.
as
That's
well.
how I came across it.
Okay.
You know, like how
I don't know.
you know, you apologize for something so you feel better for yourself. That's
Yeah.
the way that interaction came across in the film. But going back to your point about the matchmaking, I think that was probably for me, at least some of the funny part of the film. That and the roommates of Chris Evans. They were pretty funny. But
All right, guys, we're gonna give our scores.
Yep.
Moon, how many rings out of 10?
I'll give 8.5 rings out of 10.
John,
I'll give it 8 rings out of 10.
I'll give it 4 rings out of 10. All right, guys, make sure to like, subscribe, check out our socials, and we'll catch you in the next one. Ciao.